A second. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe it is. Is it live? Oh, yeah, we're live. Okay. Hey, everybody, and welcome into Talking Tuscaloosa. Luke Robinson along with Jimmy Stein. As always, Jimmy, how are you today?
Good. Okay, we're getting, today is 79 days until fall camp. Just 79. That doesn't seem long to me.
No, it doesn't seem long. And I'll tell you, it's going to come a lot quicker this year for whatever reason. I guess when we end up playing the last game of the year every year, it's always closer for us.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. We're basically playing football now until mid-January. It shortens the off season, and then when our game's over mid-January, you're in the heart of National Signing Day, and then heck, now we start spring practice 4 weeks after signing day, basically.
Right.
So, man, it really is sort of a year-round thing in terms of what it's turned into.
And thank God it is, because I know you're a Braves guy, but I don't care anything about Major League Baseball, never have, and it's so difficult for me to get involved. I mean, I see all these tweets about, the Braves are in first place. I'm like, yeah, they're 30 games deep. Let's give it a little bit of time, guys. Right. But anyway,
it's kind of yesterday the Braves. The Braves played their 40th game yesterday. That means the Major League Baseball season is only 25% over.
I mean, it's crazy. We got to be quick, but I wanted to let everybody know if you follow me on Facebook at all, then you know I was just in India. I talked about it on this podcast, and I think I had a couple of people tweet at me after the video of the cobra being around my neck, which literally happened. Say, oh my God, you really went to India? I was like, yeah. Who makes a joke like, all right, I'm going to India, I'll see you later? And like, maybe that's what I'd tell somebody I don't want to date anymore. But I gotta say a couple of things about India very quick. First of all, game day traffic ain't shit. You've never seen traffic like this. I'm going to just very quickly. I feel like this is a Family Feud thing. How many different things do you dodge while you're in a tour bus in India? And you can go with other cars, rickshaws, bicycles, motorcycles, men, women, children, dogs, cattle, monkeys, camels, elephants. That's about all I could rattle off in one quick time. It's insane.
What laws did you violate where they made you go to India?
That's what everybody said, and that's what I kind of said too. My wife is a big travel nut, and she had never been. Of course, I'd never been. And when we decided to go, I was really screwed up because I got this thing about like toilets. I want them to be clean.
That's fair. That's fair. So, I mean, I don't think that makes you snotty.
And you water to be drinkable.
So I think that's fair. Again, fair.
So. I was very worried because when I got food poisoning, I may have said this I got food poisoning several weeks ago, and I went to one of those Main Street urgent care places or whatever, and the doctor happened to be Indian, and I was talking to her, and we said, yeah, you're Indian, we're going to India, and she was like, why would you do that? I was like, oh shit.
There's your first sign.
But let me say this. I absolutely loved it. It was awesome. Jimmy, it's the nicest culture of people I've ever been around in my life. They were so friendly. They were so nice, even the ones that had nothing. I mean, and we talk about poverty here in the U.S., and I know it's all relative, and I know there are people struggling here in the United States, but the people struggling there, and it's not struggling. I don't know how you make it through the day. I mean,
many of them do not.
Walls made out of dried camel poop. And your roof is an old towel somebody else threw away. I mean, it's amazing. And that kind of stuff is everywhere, man. And the traffic, I mean, I go into they have lines like we do, and they drive on the wrong side of the road like in England and shit. But the lines and even the traffic lights, those are just mere suggestions. Like, okay, if you want to go. If you want to stop, hey, fuck it. Oh, excuse me. Edit that out, Mark. Here's a red light,
There's not exactly Indian police riding around writing tickets.
No, our tour guide even said, I said, what happens when you get in a wreck? because I saw so many near catastrophes that in the United States would have be something that the NBC Nightly News would lead with, like a complete dumbass caused a trillion-car pileup in Alexander City today. But so there were so many near wrecks, and my tour guide said, yeah, I've been in 2 wrecks in the last 6 months. And he said, what we typically do, he didn't say it like this. I mean, he was Indian. He said, what we typically do is we kind of work it out right there. Sort of like, okay, that one was kind of my fault, but you sucked. So here's 2,000 rupees. But he said, sometimes they end in fights. He said, you hardly ever call the cops because they probably can't get there in time.
Right.
And, you know, insurance is sort of, you know, yeah, if it's bad, you call your insurance and they generally will help you out. But, I mean, if you call them with like a ding, they're going to be like, yeah, it's India, man. I mean, so it's crazy. But there were monkeys everywhere, and I loved it. I mean, we got to ride an elephant.
Holy
rode
crap.
an elephant.
In traffic.
I put a cobra around my neck.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You certainly made my vacation to Jacksonville for the Players Championship sound mundane.
Well, that's what somebody said. Why are you going to India? And I said, well, Panama City was booked. So anyway, so I've been kind of out of the loop. I have followed some Bama stuff online, but I mean, obviously, it's not like I'm just getting loads of information from Tuscaloosa. I mean, I did listen to one episode of Talking Jaipur, and they were kind of like us.
They spent most of their time. It was supposed to be Talking Jaipur, but they spent most of the time talking about something else, like Alabama football.
Yeah, it was supposed to be Talking Jaipur, but they were talking about New Delhi the whole freaking time. I'll tell you what they love. What Indians love is cricket. And I don't have a freaking clue how to play. I watched it in a sports bar, like in the hotel with some other people. We have no idea how to play it. It is like baseball, but you must be smaller and you can hit it backwards and nobody knows how to keep score and it can go on for days. And I'm not being facetious.
Alabama football fans would be the worst at that because they would just declare victory every 15 minutes and just quit. We won. Bye.
What's the Paul Feinbaum of cricket? Paul, he's not guarding them wickets very well.
Well, whoever it is, they would be calling Paul to complain about the offense. Whatever that is in cricket, they'd be complaining about the offense, as everybody does in every sport. It's always about the offense, even though defense, as we all know, defense wins the championships. Offense drives talk radio and message boards.
You know how in every Alabama sport, we're missing something. Like in basketball, we're missing a pure shooter. In football, we're obviously missing a kicker. In baseball, we're missing a lot of stuff. What would Alabama cricket be missing? Probably fans.
Interest.
Yeah. Okay, so what has happened?
I mean, I'm somewhat interested in other culture sports in a sociology sense. But there's just no way. I mean, I don't have enough brain space to cramp in a whole brand new sport that I would have to enjoy and understand. I mean, I've always sort of watched hockey. I've watched more hockey this season than I have in any year since I've been alive. And I am enjoying that to an extent. But I'm telling you, my brain is just too limited. I've got enough room for crazy amounts of football. I'm really into basketball, both college and NBA, and I love Major League Baseball, and to some extent, I keep up with college baseball. But I'm telling you, and golf, and that's it for my brain. I can't really fit any more in there.
Do you remember when Homer Simpson was mad at Marge wanted to go to a class or go learn something, and Homer said, I hate to go. Why do we have to learn anything else? Why do we have to do anything else? Every time I learn something new, it pushes something else out. Remember that time we took that wine making course and I forgot how to drive? Yeah, that's because you were drunk. All right. And I got to say something else too. One other thing, that's pretty famous. I talked about the drinking water, and that's no joke. I mean, that's not being
I believe it.
That's not being rude. I mean, you cannot drink the tap water if you are not from India, even if you are from India. I mean, our tour guide said, I get stomach aches sometimes and stomach problems. And he called it something funny. He called it deli belly, which I thought was pretty funny. And I said, boy, when you get deli belly, the symptoms must be, first you Calcutta the cheese, then you Jaipur, then you Jaipur your pants, and then you blow it out your Asia. Does that sound about right?
It sounds like we're doing this whole podcast built around you making that joke.
Making diarrhea jokes.
We built. You couldn't wait to do this podcast because you had put together that joke, and that's what this entire podcast is centered around. You couldn't wait to get that out.
Yeah, I have. I'll swear to God, I'm going to write an article, I think, for B Metro about my trip to India, and like I came up with those lines, and I was thinking, okay, I think that's really funny, but I'm not sure if it sounds like I may be, it sounds racist in a sense. So I don't know if I can use it. And I guess a good rule of thumb is if it sounds racist, it's probably racist. but if you're just saying that, I don't think it's that bad. I'm just using the names of the towns. It's up for debate.
That's a tough role in journalism. What's tough.
Racist and what's not.
What's racist and what's not. That's tough.
And I was gonna. There was one other thing I wanted to tell you.
The thing about racism that's funny to me is the word "but." If there's a "but" in the sentence, like, I try not to be racist, but, and you notice how the sentence just changed there.
Yeah.
Or I'm not a racist, but changes everything. But means you are. Yeah. But means what you're about to say is about to be just awful. So no buts. There can't be buts.
And you know what else I thought the other day? Because somebody else, I remember seeing maybe a joke about it or something about, how white people say, I got a lot of black friends or something like that. You never hear another race of people say, I got a lot of white friends. He's this white friend. You never do that. Like, I don't know.
White friends. That's funny.
Okay, here's the one other thing about India on the way back. So we stop at this last hotel in New Delhi at the airport, and we don't leave out till 3:40 the next morning. And we get into the room. I'm dog tired, and I don't know if you saw this on my Facebook page, but the shower is right next to the bed, and it is a clear glass. And then through that is the toilet, and there's no door to the toilet. And I was freaking out because I'm a very, everybody likes their private time. I don't want anybody watching this. I mean, you know what I mean? But this isn't the red light district in Amsterdam.
It's you and Krista, right? I mean, it's a private room. It's you and Krista. It's not the whole floor of the hotel.
I mean, once you watch somebody poop, you've changed the relationship.
You're married. As far as I'm concerned, and I'm a lawyer. Yeah, I'm a lawyer. You're common law married at that point. That's my legal opinion. If someone watches you poop, you're common law married. I don't think that counts for prison.
I agree.
That counts for prison too.
And here's the thing: I didn't want her watching me, nor do I want to watch her. She kept saying, "Hey, no big whoop. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, we've been married 4 years, whatever." And I was like, "You don't understand. I don't give a shit if you put 2 zeros on into that 4. There's not a time I want somebody watching me do this." Not because I'm not good at it. I mean, I've done it for a while, but because it's
show off.
It's just, hey, I can do it without hands, baby. But I'm just telling you, anyway. So it wasn't until much later, and after a much debate, spirited debate, that we realized there was a shade you could hit, an automatic button that you could hit, but it was very well hidden. And I came very close to calling the hotel and going, I know y'all are into Kama Sutra and stuff, but what the hell is this? This is freaky, man.
Maybe that's why they call the whole place. Maybe that's why they call it New Dookie.
Oh, God.
Is that racist?
I think you just out racist neighbor.
Is that racist? I can't believe they make people watch. They make you watch other people poop. That's when you're out of room and the population has swelled. Yeah. When you have to watch other people poop. Like
the hotel construction budget went over. They're like, okay, who's got the curtains for the shower? Oh man, we don't have a dime left. Okay, I guess we're watching everybody shit.
See, it was India's answer when they're like, look, China's overpopulated, so they're going to have this new rule where it's only one baby per family. So one baby per family, and if you accidentally have some sort of second or third kid, it's going away. It's being put up for adoption. It's being shipped out. And India is like, well, we don't like that rule at all. What do you suggest we do because we're overpopulated? Well, we're all watching each other poop. First things first. No privacy for pooping. Everyone, you must watch our friends and neighbors poop because we don't have the room for privacy when it comes to pooping anymore. So that was their answer, I guess, to China's solution.
Oh God! I mean, because there wasn't even a fan to like block any noises. I mean, it was really creepy. I mean, I didn't like it. I made Krista go stand outside. She thought I was being ridiculous, and I said, I'm not being ridiculous. I'm either going to have internal bleeding or you're going to go stand outside for a minute because I can't do this with you, and I'm not going down to the hotel lobby.
You do not need to go to prison, man.
Neither
do I. Neither do I.
There are multiple reasons I don't need to go to prison.
I know,
but that is definitely one of them.
I could come up with 18 or 20 off the top of my head that don't even involve pooping, but pooping would be up there. Pooping would be on the list.
But I'll say it's like 2 degrees of separation from pooping. All of them you were about to mention. There's not you can draw a straight line to it. Okay, did anything happen in Alabama?
Oh yeah, I kept up with that while you were gone. I kept up with all our sports programs. Nothing really is happening in basketball since the transfer of Braxton Key to Virginia. My small comment on that is if Tevin Mack is as good as we believe him to be, then Braxton Key leaving is inconsequential in the sense that Tevin's an extremely similar player that will take over the Braxton Key role, and there's a good chance he'll play that role even better than Braxton. So in that sense, I don't really think the Braxton Key thing is a big story. Other than we're not the type of program that can withstand the loss of good players. And look, I know a lot of our fans got frustrated with Braxton, who battled through a lot of injuries last year and wasn't as effective as a sophomore as he was as a freshman. But the fact of the matter is we're not a completely built powerhouse yet in basketball. So losing a player that's as talented as Braxton Key is normally a blow. However, Tevin Mack, similar kid, similar skill set. If Tevin is good, the Braxton Key loss is not really much of a loss. But that's the basketball story. The baseball team was just rebuilding, and they were no good this year, but I think we all knew that going in. That's not fair. The softball team battled a bunch of injuries. They've made it to the NCAA tournament. They're going to host a regional this weekend. I think there's a good chance that Alabama will win the regional. I don't think they're going to be good enough to win a super regional. They just don't have the players this year, and with the injuries that they've dealt with on the mound, just tough there for softball. And the men's tennis team is good, and the golf team, men and women, are good, and that brings us back to football.
And Justin Thomas, the number one player in the world.
Justin, yeah. And I went to the Players this past weekend and saw Justin play a few holes. And the thing that I think him being number one in the world is unbelievable. It's such a cool title. I am the number one golfer in the world. That's really cool. And it's well deserved based on how well he's played over the past year. But what was cool to me is to see the size of the gallery. I know he's playing with Jordan Spieth. He actually played with Jordan Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And the size of the galleries were just humongous for Justin all weekend. He's not only a great player, he's a very popular player on the tour. And I think that's really cool. And I just have a feeling, I think Justin's going to have a really good U.S. Open next month. And I'm not going to be surprised if he's big time in the picture to win at the U.S. Open next month. But as far as football goes, the biggest stories, I think the Brandon Kennedy transfer, not a huge story in terms of our depth chart. Brandon Kennedy was not going to start. But what he was a solid second-team center. I mean, he was a solid in case of emergency guy. If Pierce Baker got hurt, Brandon Kennedy could have slid into center, and I think performed really well. So it's a blow in that sense that we've lost our second-team center, and I'm not sure the new second-team center will be quite as good. Probably in the ballpark, whether it's Josh Casher or Chris Owens. Probably in the ballpark, but not quite as good. I think the bigger story as far as the media goes is that Alabama's apparently blocking any transfer to Tennessee or Auburn that Brandon has in mind. And my two thoughts on that, and I think as fans, we're sort of all in agreement on this. Number one, Alabama has the right to block this, and it makes sense to block it Why should we invest 3 years into developing this kid into a good player, only to have him play against us in the biggest games of the season? Not to mention his in-depth knowledge of our system and line calls and how we do things. So I get why we block it. I don't like the rule. I think, just my personal opinion is that kids that graduate from college should be able to transfer without penalty, and they should be able to go wherever the hell they want to go. And if that means going from Alabama to Auburn, then so be it. That's what I think the rule should be. But that's not the issue here. We do have a rule. And where I get upset is when Alabama blocks a kid, as they're completely allowed to do under the rules, and then the SEC office grants a waiver and says, hey, never mind, we're letting this kid do it anyway. Well, then you don't have a rule. Then there is no rule. And what the SEC needs to do is pick a rule and go with it. Don't do it halfway and then make Alabama and Nick Saban look like the bad guy. I mean, you be the bad guy. You be the bad guy. You tell kids you cannot transfer within conference, and that's our rule. And then that's the freaking rule, period. Or you say, hey, when you graduate, you can go anywhere you want. I think as a fan, I'm fine with either way. I prefer kids being able to transfer where they want without sitting out if they graduate. That's the way Jimmy prefers it. That doesn't mean everybody else has to vote that way. But that's the way I see it. But don't make Nick Saban look like the bad guy here. It's the SEC's rule. What's Nick supposed to do? Like, well, I know there's this rule that we can take advantage of, but we're going to ignore that rule and just follow the others. No. You go by what the rules are. And here we have the SEC office, no doubt again, going to change the rule and grant this waiver. And that's fine for Brandon. I mean, again, I feel for Brandon, and he put in his time at Alabama. He was never going to be a starting player at Alabama. We're just too good for that. And that's, he tried, and he's a good kid. I'm sure he enjoyed his time there. And if Brandon wants to play for Jeremy Pruitt at Tennessee, or even if he wants to play for Gus at Auburn, hey, that's fine. I think he should be able to do that. But not under the rules as written. So change the rule or enforce it. So that's my rant on that. And I think it's almost non-controversial. I think almost everybody feels that way.
No, I think you're totally right. And I unfortunately, my time is up. Of talking India.
Antonio Alfano will commit to Alabama this week, and he is, in my opinion, based on all the tape and measurables I've seen, he's the best defensive lineman in the country. I know Ishmael Sopsher from Amite, Louisiana, is rated the #1 defensive lineman in the country by the ranking services. I respectfully disagree. I think Alfano's the best. And if Alfano commits to Georgia or Penn State, I don't change my opinion on that. That's not an Alabama-centric opinion. That's just my objective opinion of the tape and seeing his performances in the camp. So it will be a big get for Alabama on Friday the 18th when Antonio Alfano from New Jersey publicly commits to Alabama.
I can't wait till his nickname is "Forget About It."
There's a lot of Jersey Shore
pass on this defense. Forget about it.
I don't know. I used to call Vinny Sincere. That is racist.
Come on.
Is there a town in New Jersey we can make a Dookie joke?
I think so.
That was an India only. That was an India only thing. I called Vinny Sincere the situation and made some dude in the stands laugh at the 2012 Michigan game. So I might call Alfano the situation. Who's another Jersey Shore dude? I admit to not watching the show. Is there some guy like Paulie D? Is that a Jersey Shore guy?
You know what? I'll tell you what. There's nothing worse than a person who says he doesn't watch a show and then he immediately knows
the names.
Several characters.
Hey, I watch a lot of television.
That's like me saying, hey, have you ever heard of some dumb show called The Wiggles? And they got Emma and Lockie. You heard about them? Yeah, I've heard of them. I have to watch the shit all the time.
I never watched. I know. I guess it's an Alabama coach of all people told me one time some pop culture thing came up, and I answered the question, and I think it shocked everybody in the room. An Alabama coach said, "I thought this guy watched Huddle all day long. Apparently, he squeezes in a lot of E! News." That sums me up pretty good. Yeah, that totally summed me up right there.
There's your life in a nutshell. All right, I got to run. Roll Tide, everybody.
Roll Tide, and I'm glad you're back safely from New Dookie.
I'm back here in Old Dookie now. All right.
Well, at least you can do it in private.
See ya. Bye.
Roll Tide. See you, buddy.
See you, bud.
Bye.